And good morning, Washington, D.C., my beautiful America, my shining city on a hill. I'm Eden Gordon Hill, and welcome to the All American Book Club. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a phenomenal guest. I know you will recognize her. She's absolutely stunning. Wendy Griffith from CBN. She is a book author, international journalist, and you know what? We're going to talk about her book, but we're also going to talk about, let's see, the 2024 elections and being a former press secretary myself, as she was, and walking in the halls of Congress and walking in the halls of journalism. We have so much to talk about. So, Wendy, welcome to the All American Book Club.
Oh, Eden, it's so great to be with you.
Absolutely. You know, we have so much to talk about in a very short period of time. So let's get right to it. We have the presidential debates coming up this coming week. And we are also looking at our future generations and what are we doing to fight this woke indoctrination, this Pride Month, everything that's happening. What are we as people of faith doing about this? So, okay, I asked two questions in one segment, but let's just get down to it. What are your initial thoughts about the upcoming debate that obviously the CNN, other named news network, is hosting?
Well, I have high hopes that it is going to turn the polls back towards Trump. I know right now we're seeing a little swing back towards Biden for the first time in several months due to the trials and the outcome of that. But I think people are going to see very clearly the difference, and I'm excited. I think it's going to be a game changer for this presidential campaign.
Yes, absolutely. You know, there's so many different speculations. Who's going to be the vice presidential nominee? Who's going to be running with, Donald Trump? And everybody has their picks, everybody from Midwestern to Southern. And we have all of our favorites. And I know that you and I talked before the show. We have some of our absolute favorites. So I don't know, should we just keep the audience in suspense or not? So for all of you out there on Capitol Hill tuning in, or if you're driving to the beach right now saying, I'm just going to avoid the debate this week, well, we'll tell you, we want Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Well, I do. Wendy, do you?
So I just finished her book that she wrote when she was White House press secretary called Speaking for Myself.
Yeah.
And I just felt more in love with her. I mean, I laughed, I cried. It was like she took me behind the scenes. She is so tough, tough, but also so compassionate. And of course, she's a Christian. She's a believer. She and Trump are really, really close. So I know she could do the job. I think she would be fantastic. A few months ago, I was completely sold out for Governor Noem. I'm still a Kristi Noem fan. I don't care that she had to put the dog down. I mean, not that I'm not a, I mean, okay.
Yeah.
Let me rephrase that. She's a tough girl. And if she said she had to put her dog down, then I believe her. I don't think she did it to be mean or anything. Anyway, I just think that she is tough. I've interviewed Kristi Noem. I've seen that steel in her eyes. Look what she did. She during COVID, how she kept her state open, how she stood up to China and says, you will not be coming into my state and buying farmland. That's just a no-brainer. I mean, what I like about Governor Noem is the common sense approach to governing. And I think she could be president. So I don't want a female just for the sake of a female, I don't. And so I want someone who could step into those shoes if need be. I think Governor Noem could do it. I think Sarah Huckabee Sanders could do it. Now, with that said, I'm very impressed with Governor Doug Burgum from North Dakota. And so is it just me, or does he look like one of the founding fathers? Does his face look like it could be, etched into?
Oh my goodness, completely. Oh yes, absolutely.
He has that George Washington look, and every time I'm like, so anyway, that's beside the point. But I also like Marco Rubio because I think he could really be a benefit. However, guess what? I mean, the Hispanics are coming in droves over to the Trump train. So I don't know,
it's a no-brainer.
A big difference in that, but I like Marco Rubio too. So I think there's a lot of good candidates for VP.
Yes, absolutely. So I wonder, we have covered presidential politics for a really long time, both with you and your international and also at CBN, and myself being on Capitol Hill and previously at Fox. So, what is the timing of his announcement? Is he going to do it during patriotic summer, during July holiday? And then we go right into the convention. What is the big surprise? What timing? Timing is everything with Trump, and timing is everything, especially during a presidential year. What are your thoughts?
Well, he's a showman, and I think the convention is the perfect place to do it, don't you? I mean, that's where you would want to make a big splash and get the ratings up, and so I'm thinking it's going to happen at the convention
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Milwaukee.
Absolutely. So we could talk politics all day, and we're going to do that again. But I would love to talk with you about, you are an author to two books. And the most recent one is about waiting. And it's about those who are single and those who have waited a certain time, even longer. And you just got married at the age of 50. Did I get that right?
No, 54. I was
54.
I met my husband. I met my husband Bill when I was 52. Of course, I didn't know he was my husband right away. Almost 53, and got married at 54 for the very first time.
Mhm.
And so my new book, as you mentioned,
Yes.
is right here. Hot off
Yes.
the press. You didn't miss it. God's Best is Worth the Wait.
Mhm.
And it's the sequel and really the happy ending to my first book, Eden, which is called You Are a Prize to Be Won. Don't settle for less than God's best. I wrote this one when I was single, going through heartbreak. God told me to write about my test. I dedicated it to my future husband. And I said, I know you will be worth the wait. So I stepped out in faith, dedicating this book, totally single, no prospects. And this was 2014. Then I had to wait several more years. And I was like, Lord, I dedicated this book to my future husband. Don't let me be put to shame. So when I was in my early 50s, I started just, Lord, where is he? Come on. And I heard the Holy Spirit say, when you're ready, there
Mm.
he will be.
Mhm.
And so I heard, so the women who read this one, You Are Priced to Be Won, when they found out I got married, they said, we want the rest of the story. So it's been so exciting. Just the feedback that's come from this, and the people that have now read both books.
Mhm.
And yeah, so
I I want to thank you for doing what you did, because there's a couple reasons why. First, I was 40 and got married for the first time. And I wondered all of those years.
yeah.
And having been a career communications in politics, I was on the Hill for 20 some years, dated, did the dating apps, showed up to different restaurants, having, these dates. And this is a really funny one, really quickly. The guy says, oh, by the way, I forgot my wallet. And so I snuck out of the restroom. I'm like, I'm not putting up with this. And
Oh, good for you. Good for you. Because you're worth the price of dinner and dessert, Eden.
exactly. But I shared that with my husband, and who we both got married. He was 53 and I was 40 for the first time. We have no kids, no
Yeah.
alimony, matrimony, no any other monies, right? And we were thankful that all that time having that weight. And you talk about the weight, you talk about that aspect of what, especially those who are on the Hill who may be listening. You have your young 20s and early 30s who are serving in the halls of Congress, serving in the White House, serving in all different aspects. And yet the whole dating scene can be really very discouraging to a lot of people. Those who are of faith and in the public square, having the additional
Mm.
the additional criticisms of that as well, waiting until you're married, for all of those different aspects. And, I just sat there and thought, I am really very impressed that you did this. And for all of those who are tuning in, I say, in the in between times and that waiting period, God is still there. And I think a lot of people forget that.
Absolutely. Waiting is not punishment. And I had to learn that, God, you're not just, you're not waiting to punish me. You're preparing me. And
Mhm.
also there's purpose in the waiting,
Mhm.
because God is a God of order and he's a good father. So he's not going to give you something you're not ready for, because, you wouldn't do that to your child if they weren't ready for something. So God makes us wait, that he's actually being gracious to us. And there is grace. When I look back at all those single years, and I'm sure for you as well, there was grace. I mean, there were times where you didn't feel it and the waiting got overwhelming. And I talk about that. I talk about, what do you do when you can't wait one more day and you're just completely over it, right?
Yeah.
I talk about the importance of having that prayer partner, someone who's standing with you. I have a friend, and I would call her, and I wrote a whole chapter about her, because I think it's so important to have that person or people that you can call in those moments. And I'd say, Rhonda, I can't wait one more day. Where is my husband? And she'd say, Wendy, remember Psalm 84:11. God says, I will not withhold any good thing from those who are walking with me, who are walking uprightly. And it would always just calm me down and make me like, okay, I can wait one more day. Yeah, God's not holding out on me. He has best for me. And the other important thing, if you're waiting and you're a Christian, you have to have that rhema word, that word. I was out walking in my late 40s after this heartbreak, and I heard God say, you didn't miss it, Wendy, and it's not too late. And when I heard that, it was like that. I mean, tears are coming down my face. And I'm like, I wasn't even praying at that moment, but God knew my heart. He knew I needed to know that. So you need to hear. And if you don't know how to hear from God and get those words, it's really not that hard. It's just having that personal relationship with him, spending time in his word. And when you pray, after you've prayed, then listen, God, speak to me. Jeremiah 33:3, he says, call to me.
Yes.
And I will answer you and tell you great and mighty things that you do not know. Yes. God, Jesus said, my sheep hear my voice. So it's not hard to hear the voice of God, but you have to practice. Does that make sense? I mean,
absolutely. Yes.
And I don't know what I would have done if I hadn't heard those words. I mean, because now I'm like, late 40s, early 50s, the world says you've missed it, but God's telling me, Wendy, you didn't miss it. So who am I going to believe? I'm going to believe the Lord. I'm going to believe the report of the Lord. So I just encourage, if you're single and waiting, and I know you can feel like you've missed it in your 20s, even if maybe you're a divorced mom or dad, or you've been through a heartbreak, or I met a neighbor the other day, only 28, and he was in an 8-year relationship that just ended. And I mean, how heartbreaking. 8 years, that's a big, and he's 28, but and it's hard in those moments to say, wow, I still have so much life left, right? So you can feel like you've missed it in your 20s, in your 30s, in your 40s. And, but God says, I will give you, delight yourself in me. Psalm 37:4.
Yes.
Delight yourself in me. And what? I will give you the desires of your heart. God is faithful to his word. He is no respecter of persons. Now, he might, your journey, I hope you don't have to wait as long as me, but I love my story now, because now I'm able to give hope to those who are waiting. God doesn't waste your pain. He doesn't waste the waiting. And, I feel like I'm living my best life now.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I want to encourage those who are tuning in, whether you are, like you just said, the 28-year-old who just had that whole, it sounded like they were blindsided, and those who are just really looking for that hope, and being in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, and working the intense lifestyle day in and day out of being on the Hill or being at the White House, in that kind of world, to get involved in a Bible study, to get involved in a community group, to surround yourself with like-minded people to lift you up and encourage you when you do have those days, because you will have those days. And that also leads me to some of the retreats that you and your husband are now spearheading with this launch of your book. Can you share about those retreats?
Sure. Eden, we just had our first ever Ready for Love retreat, singles retreat here in Virginia Beach over the weekend. And we had about 100 singles come from all over the country. And we had 3 ladies come from Canada. like Western Canada, one from Calgary, two from Saskatchewan. And we couldn't believe that we got two ladies from Saskatchewan, because I write about this in the book, you didn't miss it. We have a Saskatchewan story. So when we were dating, just dating, like maybe a month in, my husband said, "Oh, I'm going to Canada in October to go hunting," because he hunts all kinds of stuff. But he was going to hunt geese in Canada. And I said, "Oh, I'm going to Canada in October too." And I said, "Where are you going?" He said, "I'm going to Saskatchewan." I said, "I'm going to Saskatchewan. I'm going to a town called Saskatoon." And he said, "Yeah, that's where I'm flying into." And we were both going. I mean, I just met this guy. I'm just dating him. We're both going to Saskatoon in October. And I'm thinking, okay, that's a God wink. I mean, I said, "God, that's good." I mean, I definitely love little God winks and signs. I said, "God, that's good, but you got to do more than that." So, and God did. But so here, fast forward 5 years of marriage, and we hold our first singles conference. And where do our Canadian friends come from? Saskatchewan. So we are now really good friends with them, and they are encouraging us to have one in Canada. So we're already looking at September in Canada. But the feedback coming in, and I had singles from late 20s to 80 years old. I had a couple ladies from Las Vegas that were 80 that came, and they were awesome. But I mean, the age gap was amazing, but it doesn't matter how old you are. If it's still a desire of your heart, God can do it. It doesn't matter the age. And but the feedback coming in, if you want to hear and read what people are saying on Wendy Griffith TV, Instagram.
Yes, thank you.
Then, I mean, overwhelmingly positive, and people were so blessed, because my prayer was that they would come away with so much hope. And someone said it really well. They said, it wasn't so much a retreat to meet someone, but to become the right person, so that you're ready, because it's called Ready for Love, right?
Yes.
So I talked about what does that mean to be ready for love? And it was just, it was great. It was great. And I'm hooked. I mean, I can't wait for the next retreat. And so we're looking at hopefully Canada in the fall, and maybe a singles cruise over New Year's. Because when I was single, I did a Christian singles cruise when I was 48, and it was fantastic. And I mean, because when you're single and you don't have that significant other, holidays like Valentine's Day, New
they're
Year's,
the worst. They're the worst.
Valentine's Day and New Year's, I think those are the two hardest when you're single.
Yes.
So let's go celebrate. I totally believe in enjoying your singleness and enjoying the journey. And I talk about that all through the book, because, singleness is a gift while you have it, and marriage is a gift, and they're two different gifts. And you have to learn how to enjoy the journey.
Yes. Well, I mean, I will say that even in the next step, even after the fact that you have had the opportunity to get married, you get married to the love of your life. And I'll be honest with you, to all of those in the second phase of that is, are you able to have kids next? Are you able to have a family like, God talks about biblically? And, I'll say to the audience out there, we were not able to, because of our respective ages and things of that nature, but how God opens up doors for being able to mentor, for being able to work with our future generations, being able to minister to those in our community, minister to the children, minister to those who are headed into college or young professionals. There's so many different ways that we can minister, whether we got married later in life, or, the not being able to have those additional opportunities. So I'm really thankful, Wendy, for your voice on CBN, for your voice through your books, for your voice through what is to come with retreats for the singles, and to all of those who are on Capitol Hill, who are in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, who are live streaming and saying, finally, somebody who gets this. You are the one that you are able to bring your heart and your soul to these who are maybe searching and needed to hear this morning. So I'm really grateful for you. One final
Thank
thing as
you.
we wrap this segment, which I don't want to wrap, there's so much more we could talk about. Where can people really engage with you? Can they follow you on CBN? Can they watch your shows? Can they also, where can they sign up to hear more about your upcoming retreats and your book and every aspect? How can they connect with you?
Well, I love talking to people on Facebook and Instagram. So it's Wendy Griffith TV on, I think it's just Wendy Griffith on Facebook, Wendy Griffith CBN on Facebook, and Wendy Griffith TV on Instagram. Also, my website, wendygriffithauthor.com, has all the information about upcoming retreats and, my books and all that, and videos. But, real quick, Eden, I
Yeah.
do think there's a time when you're single that it's okay to be totally focused on work. I remember being on Capitol Hill as a reporter my first year at CBN. I was covering the Bill Clinton impeachment trial.
Oh my goodness, you're dating it now.
And I mean, I just remember there was no time for anything else. I mean, I had to be at work at 5:30 and then be on the Hill and do a live shot and then come back to I mean, if you had time to, go to the gym, it was really lucky. But there are times in your life, especially when you're starting out in your career, it's okay to be all about work. I don't think that's a problem. Now, was I still keeping my eyes open? Yeah, I was always looking, but that's okay. And then, because there's so many different seasons, and then there will be that season where, like, I'm ready. I'm ready for love, and that's just the way the Lord does. It does it. So it's okay to be focused on work, and especially in DC. Goodness, you have to, right?
Yes, no, absolutely. I completely agree with you with that because God does give us specific seasons. And you are right. For such a time as this, for all of those Esthers out there, this is their
Yeah.
moment. This is their moment. So, as we head into our next segment here at the All American Book Club, I just want to share with everyone out there, thank you so much for supporting us here at the All American Book Club, but also for supporting powerful authors like Wendy Griffith, who is at CBN and also has written multiple books, and you're going to see her everywhere. So we are grateful for the power of your voice and your testimony and what you are doing for the young professionals and even 80-year-olds.
Yes, thank
Such
you,
a powerful story. I love it.
I
Many
loved
blessings
meeting
to
them.
you. Thank you so much. And stay tuned. We will be right back with our next segment.